Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening.
In the year 2375, the vastness of space, once a canvas of darkness dotted with the light of distant stars, became a path to the unknown as humanity ventured beyond the familiar confines of the Milky Way. Aboard the Odyssey, a vessel crafted for deep space exploration, Captain Jack Harding stood as a beacon of human curiosity and determination. His crew, a medley of scientists and diplomats, shared his vision of establishing peaceful contact with extraterrestrial life. As the Odyssey sailed to the uncharted reaches of the Orion Arm, an unexpected anomaly captured their attention. The ship's advanced sensors detected a series of electromagnetic fluctuations unusual enough to warrant a deviation from their plotted course. Jack, ever the explorer, decided to investigate, a decision that would alter the course of human history. Unbeknownst to Jack and his crew, they had drifted close to the territorial boundary of the Circanians, a species known for their advanced technology and stringent governance of their space. The Circanians, led by Officer Glira, monitored the Odyssey with growing interest and suspicion. Glira, a high-ranking tactician, was tasked with ensuring the security of their borders, a job she performed with a stoic dedication. The first direct encounter occurred when the Odyssey inadvertently crossed into Circanian space. Almost immediately, a sleek, imposing Circanian vessel appeared from the void, cutting off their path. The ship was unlike anything humanity had encountered. Its design was elegantly aggressive, and it bristled with weaponry. Jack's first response was to prevent a potential conflict. He opened communication channels, his voice calm and composed, echoing through both ships. "This is Captain Jack Harding of the Earth vessel Odyssey. We come in peace and seek only to explore and understand." Glira, observing Jack through the view screen, was initially unmoved by the human's plea. Her training had taught her to be wary of outsiders, especially those from unregistered species. However, something in Jack's demeanor, perhaps his genuine tone or the lack of aggression, prompted her to hold her fire. "You have entered Circanian territory without authorization," Glira responded, her voice cold yet curious. "Identify your intentions immediately." Jack explained their mission of exploration and scientific research, emphasizing their peaceful intentions. The conversation that followed was tense, with Jack negotiating their position and Glira assessing his truthfulness. Eventually, Glira decided to escort the Odyssey to their nearest outpost for a more formal inquiry, a decision that would lead to a historic meeting between their two civilizations. As the Odyssey followed the Circanian ship, Jack prepared his crew for what might come next. They organized their research and diplomatic reports, ready to present humanity in the best possible light. Meanwhile, Glira reported to her superiors, her mind filled with questions about the humans and their technology. The chapter closes as the two ships dock at the Circanian outpost, the stars silently watching over a moment that might signify a new dawn of interspecies understanding or the prelude to a greater conflict. This encounter, set against the backdrop of the infinite cosmos, marks the beginning of an unforeseen journey for both Jack and Glira, a journey that would challenge their beliefs and change their worlds forever. As the Odyssey docked at the Circanian outpost, Captain Jack Harding stepped into a world of sleek architecture and advanced technology, the likes of which no human had seen before. The air was filled with a quiet tension, as the crew, accompanied by their diplomatic team, prepared for what could be the most significant diplomatic endeavor of their lives. The outpost was a testament to Circanian engineering prowess. It was built into a massive asteroid, its interiors carved out to form halls and rooms that flowed seamlessly into one another. The walls emitted a soft ambient light, giving the space a calm yet alien atmosphere. Jack, along with his senior advisors, was escorted to a large chamber where the diplomatic talks were to be held. The room was circular, with a high ceiling from which a holographic projector displayed a map of Circanian-controlled space. As they entered, Jack couldn't help but admire the elegance of the design, a stark contrast to the utilitarian aesthetic of human spaceships. Officer Glira was waiting for them, She stood tall and composed, her uniform immaculate, her violet eyes scanning each human as they took their seats. Her presence commanded attention, and it was clear she was not just a military officer, but a key player in Circanian politics. The negotiations began with formal introductions. Jack took the lead, expressing his gratitude for the opportunity to discuss matters of mutual interest and the importance of peaceful coexistence. His speech was well received, though the Circanian delegates remained impassive, their expressions giving nothing away. Glira spoke next, outlining the Circanians' primary concerns. They were particularly wary of human expansionism, having observed from afar the rapid growth of human colonies. She emphasized the need for strict boundaries and protocols if relations were to proceed. Her tone was firm but fair, and it was clear she was open to dialogue, albeit cautiously. As the talks progressed, Jack and his team presented a proposal for shared research initiatives and cultural exchanges, aiming to build trust and understanding between their peoples. They suggested a joint exploration mission of uncharted areas in the neutral zone, an idea that sparked interest among the younger Circanian delegates. However, the senior Circanian officials were harder to convince. They questioned the humans' motives and scrutinized the proposed terms with a critical eye. Each point was debated intensely, with Glira often mediating between the two sides. Throughout the negotiations, Jack noticed Glira's nuanced approach. She was protective of her people's interests, yet she seemed genuinely interested in finding a pathway to peace. Her questions were insightful, pushing the humans to consider the broader implications of their actions in the galaxy. The session stretched into hours, with brief recesses allowing both sides to regroup and strategize. During one such break, Jack approached Glira, hoping to understand her perspective better. Their conversation was cautious but honest, and they both acknowledged the potential for a significant alliance, as well as the risks involved. As the day turned to evening, a tentative agreement was reached to explore a limited partnership, focusing initially on scientific collaboration. Both sides agreed to meet again to finalize the details, considering it a first step towards a more comprehensive agreement. The chapter ends with Jack reflecting on the day's events as he looks out at the stars from the observation deck of the outpost. The negotiations had been challenging, but they had also opened a door to possibilities that could redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. He knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but for the first time, peace seemed within reach, and he was determined to see it through. Back on her ship, the Varan, Officer Glira processed the events of the day with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. The humans were unlike any other species she had encountered. Their emotive expressions, their passionate speeches about exploration and peace. It was all so foreign yet strangely compelling. As she sat in her quarters reviewing the transcripts of the negotiations, her commander, General Zoran, contacted her via the ship's communication system. His image flickered into view, his stern features set against the dark backdrop of the command center. Officer Glira, your report has been received. It appears you have managed the humans well. Zoran began, his voice echoing slightly through the room. However, we must remain vigilant. The High Council is concerned about the potential risks of this new relationship. You are to stay close to the human captain, Jack Harding. Observe him. Learn what you can about their intentions, their strengths, and their vulnerabilities. Glira acknowledged her orders with a crisp nod. Understood, General. I will ensure our interests are protected. After the call, she pondered her new role. It was one thing to negotiate across a table, quite another to engage closely with a human, to watch him, to understand his psyche. Yet, the task intrigued her more than she expected. There was something about Jack Harding that challenged her usual perceptions, a complexity that drew her in. The next day, Glira joined Jack and his team on a tour of the Circanian Outpost's main scientific facilities. As they walked through the labs and experimental stations, Jack's enthusiasm was evident. He asked insightful questions, showing a genuine interest in Circanian technology and methods, not merely as a diplomat but as a scientist himself. Glira found herself explaining more than she had anticipated. She talked about their advancements in quantum computing, their experiments with dark energy, and their explorations of neural interfacing. Jack listened intently, his gaze often lingering on her with a mix of admiration and curiosity. It was during a demonstration of a neural interface device that Glira observed something unexpected in Jack. As the scientist explained how the device could enhance cognitive functions, Jack's expression shifted subtly. There was a flicker of concern, perhaps a reflection of his ethical standpoint on such technology. Glira filed this observation away. It was a glimpse into his values, into the potential conflicts he wrestled with. As the tour concluded, Jack expressed his gratitude for the insights into Circanian science. "Your advancements are remarkable, Officer Glira," he said, his tone sincere. "I hope our own scientists can learn from your achievements and perhaps contribute to them." Glira responded with a nod, her mind racing. "Perhaps this exchange will be beneficial for us all, Captain Harding." That evening, Glira documented everything in her encrypted log. She included not just what was said, but her observations on Jack's reactions, his interests, and his concerns. This human was not just a diplomat. He was a thinker, a doer, someone who could bridge the gap between their species or widen it if not handled carefully. Her assignment was clear, and yet, as she prepared for rest, her thoughts were conflicted. There was a part of her that admired Jack's drive and compassion, qualities seldom seen in her own kind. How much should she allow herself to respect the human? How closely should she tread the line between duty and the dawning respect she felt? Glira's sleep was restless that night. Dreams of strange, new stars and the echo of human laughter haunted her, a reminder of the profound journey she was on, one that might change her understanding of the universe and her place within it. The newfound collaboration between the humans and Circanians was proceeding with cautious optimism. Yet, beneath the surface of these diplomatic exchanges, a darker current swirled within certain quarters of the Circanian military. A faction led by Commander Threx, a hardline traditionalist, viewed any alliance with humans as a fundamental threat to their civilization's purity and strength. Commander Threx convened a clandestine meeting deep within the military sector of the outpost, far from the prying eyes of both their new guests and those Circanians they deemed too sympathetic to the humans. The room was stark, illuminated only by the glow of the tactical displays, showing the expanding territories and resource maps that Threx believed were now at risk. "We cannot allow these humans to entangle us in their naive schemes of exploration and peace," Threx hissed, his voice barely containing his disdain. "They speak of shared knowledge and mutual benefit, but I see only the seeds of our potential subjugation. We must act, and swiftly, to safeguard our dominion." The plan was ruthless. A staged attack on a diplomatic tour of the mining site on Zoran, a planet rich in valuable minerals and a potent symbol of Circanian industrial might. The attack would be blamed on rogue elements, providing a pretext for the Circanians to sever all ties with humanity and fortify their borders. Meanwhile, back at the diplomatic hub, Jack and Glira continued to foster their burgeoning partnership, oblivious to the brewing storm. Glira had arranged for Jack to visit Zoran, promoting it as a showcase of Circanian advances in mining technology and environmental management. Jack, ever eager to build bridges, accepted the invitation, seeing it as another step toward a deeper understanding between their peoples. As the day of the tour arrived, Jack and a small team of human scientists were escorted by Glira to Zoran. The planet was a harsh landscape of jagged mountains and deep chasms, but it also possessed a stark, rugged beauty. The Circanian facilities were impressive, harmoniously integrated into the environment with minimal ecological impact, a testament to their technological prowess. Glira watched Jack as he interacted with her people, his genuine admiration and thoughtful questions endearing him to many of the Circanian workers. She found herself increasingly conflicted, caught between her duty to observe and report on Jack and her growing respect for his ideals and his unflagging commitment to peace. It was during a demonstration of a new, environmentally friendly drilling technique that the attack occurred. Explosions rocked the facility, sending plumes of smoke into the sky. Chaos ensued as everyone scrambled for cover. Glira, realizing what was happening, grabbed Jack, pulling him away from the danger. This wasn't supposed to happen. She shouted over the din, her eyes wide with shock and anger. This is a setup. We have to get out of here. Jack looked at her, confusion and trust battling within him. Lead the way, he said, his voice steady despite the circumstances. Glira guided Jack and his team through the labyrinthine facilities, evading both the stage hazards and the unwitting Circanian security forces now mobilized to respond to the crisis. As they navigated the treacherous terrain, the bond between them strengthened, forged in the heat of shared peril. The chapter closes with Jack, Glira, and the human scientists huddled in a cave, miles from the mining site, hidden from immediate pursuit. As they catch their breath, the reality of their situation settles in. A betrayal within the Circanian ranks, a friendship tested under fire, and a looming conflict that could end their fledgling alliance before it truly began. Glira, torn between her loyalty to her people and her duty to the truth, looks to Jack, her resolve hardening. We need to expose the truth about what happened here, she declares, her decision setting the course for the next chapter of their journey. In the cold darkness of the cave on Zoran, Glira and Jack, alongside the shaken human scientists, plotted their next moves. The echoes of explosions and distant sirens had faded, leaving a heavy silence. Jack's team looked to him for guidance, their faces reflecting a mix of fear and determination. Glira, still reeling from the realization of betrayal within her own ranks, found herself in an unfamiliar role, a protector, not just of Circanian interests, but of these humans who had come to symbolize much more to her than mere diplomatic counterparts. Jack broke the silence. We need to communicate with the Odyssey, he suggested, his voice low but clear. They can help us coordinate a response, and maybe even extract us from here. Glira nodded, but her expression was troubled. Communications from here will be monitored, likely blocked. We have to assume that Threx's faction is watching closely now. She paused, considering their options. There's an old communications array in the northern sector. It's less sophisticated, less likely to be under surveillance. We could try there. The group agreed to move at dawn, under the cover of the lingering chaos. As they prepared, Jack noticed Glira's distant demeanor. He approached her, his concern evident. You save us back there, Glira. Why take such a risk? Glira turned to face him, her violet eyes reflecting the dim light. Because, despite everything, I believe in what we're trying to build. This alliance, it could change everything. Not just for our peoples, but for the galaxy. And I believe in you, Jack. Her voice faltered slightly, revealing a hint of vulnerability. Jack reached out, placing a hand on her shoulder. And I believe in you. We'll get through this together. As dawn crept over the rugged landscape, the group navigated treacherous terrain to reach the old communications array. Along the way, the close quarters and shared danger drew Jack and Glira closer. Their conversations, once filled with formalities, now took on a more personal tone. Jack shared stories of Earth, of oceans and mountains, while Glira spoke of Circanian legends, of stars and heroes from her world. By the time they reached the array, their bond had deepened, marked by a mutual respect and an emerging affection. Jack worked alongside Glira to activate the equipment, his hand occasionally brushing hers, sending an electric charge through the air. Glira felt a surge of emotions she had been trained to suppress, a warmth that seemed to defy the coldness of her environment. As the array sputtered to life, Glira stood close to Jack, their sides touching. This might be our only chance to send a message, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack nodded, his focus on the console. Let's hope it reaches the Odyssey. He paused, glancing at Glira. And whatever happens, I'm glad to have met you, Glira. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the perilous situation faded into the background. In a spontaneous act, driven by the intense emotions of the past days, they leaned in, their lips meeting in a kiss that was both an affirmation of life amidst danger and a crossing of boundaries neither had anticipated. The kiss broke as quickly as it began, both stepping back, slightly embarrassed, but also unable to deny the connection they felt. Before they could speak, the console beeped, a signal sent, a call for help that might or might not come in time. As they prepared to defend the array until a response came, Glira and Jack understood that their relationship had irreversibly changed. What began as diplomatic necessity had evolved into a personal bond, one that promised complications, but also a rare kind of hope. The chapter closes with them watching the horizon, ready to face whatever response the galaxy would throw back at them, their shared experience a beacon in the tumult of interstellar intrigue and conflict. After successfully transmitting their distress signal from the old communications array, Jack and Glira knew that their window for escape was narrowing. They needed to move fast. Their decision was to split the group, with some humans staying behind to maintain the signal and create a diversion, while Jack, Glira, and a small team ventured back towards the mining facility to retrieve crucial data that could expose the conspiracy. As they trekked through the rocky terrain of Zoran, their journey was fraught with tension and urgency. Glira led with an intensity that Jack had come to respect deeply. She navigated the landscape with a familiarity that only a native could, her every move calculated to avoid detection. The plan, however, quickly unraveled. Commander Threx, having intercepted part of their transmission, had anticipated their return. As Jack, Glira, and their team neared the facility, they were ambushed. A barrage of energy fire forced them into cover, and within moments, they were surrounded by Threx's forces. The capture was swift. Jack and Glira, along with their team, were disarmed and bound. The cold, hard eyes of Commander Threx glinted with triumph as he approached them. "Did you really think you could outmaneuver us, Officer Glira? You, siding with these humans, have betrayed your people and your heritage," he sneered. Glira met his gaze with defiance. "I am protecting our future, Threx, a future where fear and isolation do not define us. You cannot stop the truth from coming out." Threx scoffed, turning his attention to Jack. "And you, human, are far from home. Your little adventure here will end in despair. Take them away." They were taken to a detention facility, a place of stark walls and harsh lights, designed to disorient and break the spirit. In a small, barren cell, Jack and Glira were left alone, the gravity of their situation settling upon them like a heavy shroud. Despite the grim circumstances, the close quarters brought them even closer together. Their initial conversation was strained, each processing the reality of their capture, but as the hours passed, barriers began to break down. Jack sat beside Glira, his voice soft. "Glira, she interrupted, her voice equally gentle. "I know, Jack. I feel it too." The acknowledgement of their shared sentiment seemed to lift some of the weight from the room. As they talked, they spoke not just of plans and possibilities, but of personal histories and dreams. It was during these exchanges, under the dim light of their cell, that their bond deepened into something profound. They shared fears and hopes, finding comfort in each other's presence. In a moment of quiet intimacy, driven by the intense emotional connection they had forged in the uncertainty of their fate, they drew closer. The distance between them closed, and they found solace in each other's arms. The night they spent together was a poignant affirmation of their bond, a gentle defiance against the chaos that surrounded them. Their connection was physical and emotional, a mingling of desire and deep mutual respect. It was a night of discovering each other's humanity, or in Glira's case, her capacity for human-like emotions, feelings that were overwhelming, intense, and utterly transformative. She whispered to Jack in the quiet aftermath, "This human is making me feel amazing," her voice a mixture of wonder and revelation. As dawn approached, the reality of their situation returned. They knew that come morning, Threx would likely move them to a more secure facility. Their time was running out, and they needed to act if they were to have any chance of turning the tide against Threx's machinations. The chapter closes on a note of quiet determination. Jack and Glira, now more connected than ever, prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, their resolve strengthened by the profound bond they shared, a bond that might yet prove to be the key to not only their survival, but the bridging of their two worlds. The pale light of dawn barely seeped into the small, stark cell where Jack and Glera had spent the night. The brief respite they found in each other's arms was now overshadowed by the grim reality of their captivity. Despite this, a quiet resolve had settled between them, a shared determination that they would not let their story end here, not while there was still a chance to make a difference. Their opportunity came sooner than expected. The guard assigned to their cell was one of the lower-ranked officers, young and visibly uneasy with the high-profile prisoners under his watch. Glera noticed his hesitation, the way his eyes avoided hers, and she sensed an opportunity. Speaking in low, urgent tones, she addressed the guard in Circanian, her voice carrying the weight of her authority and the gravity of the situation. "You know what Commander Threx is doing is wrong," she asserted. "Help us, and you help your people find a true path, not one marred by deceit and fear." The guard faltered, conflict playing across his young face. It was Jack's earnest nod and the sincere warmth in his gaze that finally swayed him. With a tense nod, the guard deactivated their restraints and handed them back their confiscated communicators. Free but still deep within enemy territory, Jack and Glera moved quickly. They navigated the corridors of the detention facility with the guard's guidance, avoiding patrols and surveillance until they reached the facility's communication hub. Here, they sent out a coded distress signal to the Odyssey, not just calling for extraction, but also transmitting the evidence of Threx's treachery they had gathered. Meanwhile, the Odyssey received the transmission loud and clear. The crew, already on edge and prepared for a swift response, coordinated with other Circanian factions that opposed Threx's radical views. It was a risky gambit, relying on a fractured opposition to come together, but the stakes could not have been higher. Back on the ground, Jack and Glera's escape was not going unnoticed. Alarms began to blare throughout the facility as Threx's forces realized their prisoners were missing. Jack and Glera ran, dodging energy blasts and barricading doors behind them as they made their way to the rendezvous point. The tension peaked as they neared the extraction zone, only to find Threx himself waiting for them, flanked by elite guards. Threx's anger was palpable, his voice booming over the roar of his soldiers' weapons powering up. "You think you can change what is destined? You are nothing but a fleeting chapter in our history," he sneered at Jack and Glera. But before the conflict could escalate further, the skies above them cracked open with the sound of Circanian and human ships arriving. It was a coalition, albeit an uneasy one, of Circanian officers loyal to the old codes of honor and the Odyssey's crew, all united against Threx's extremism. A battle ensued, fierce and short-lived, as Threx's men were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Threx himself was captured, his rage unyielding even as he was subdued. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the last of Threx's loyalists were rounded up, Jack and Glera stood side by side, their hands linked. Around them, Circanians and humans worked together to secure the area, their combined efforts a testament to the potential of unity over division. Jack turned to Glera, his voice soft but resolute. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" he asked, a hopeful smile tugging at his lips. Glera nodded, her eyes reflecting the light of a new dawn. "Yes, the beginning of something greater than any of us could have imagined." The chapter closes on a note of cautious optimism. The immediate threat had been quelled, but the path forward would require careful navigation. For Jack and Glera, their journey had bonded them not just to each other, but to a cause that was reshaping the galaxy, one that promised new challenges but also the hope of lasting peace. In the wake of their harrowing escape and the subsequent defeat of Commander Threx's forces, a palpable sense of change swept through the Circanian outpost and extended across their territories. The alliance between Jack, Glera, and their respective factions had ignited a powerful movement, challenging long-held beliefs and political structures within the Circanian Empire. As leaders of this nascent coalition, Jack and Glera found themselves at the heart of reconstruction and reconciliation efforts. Their first task was to address the remnants of Threx's faction, ensuring a fair yet firm handling of their crimes, emphasizing justice over revenge. This approach won them respect and loyalty from those who were tired of Threx's brutal methods. Simultaneously, the Odyssey became a symbol of unity, hosting a series of meetings and forums where humans and Circanians collaborated on setting the foundation for a joint governance structure. These discussions were often intense and fraught with disagreements, but Jack and Glira's steadfast commitment to transparency and mutual respect helped bridge the divides. Amidst the political upheaval, Jack and Glira worked tirelessly to promote understanding between their peoples. They organized cultural exchanges, educational programs, and joint scientific ventures, all designed to intertwine their societies and interests deeply. The exchange of ideas and technology led to rapid advancements in fields like medicine, energy production, and space travel, benefiting both human and Circanian civilizations. However, their success in politics and diplomacy was not their only focus. Throughout these tumultuous times, their personal relationship continued to deepen. They found solace in each other's arms, their love becoming a wellspring of strength that they drew upon in challenging times. One evening, as they stood watching a sunset on Zoran, a planet that had once been a battleground, Jack turned to Glira. "Look at what we've started," he said, gesturing towards a horizon where Circanian and human engineers were working together. "Do you think it will last?" Glira, her hand in his, smiled. "As long as there are those who believe in what we're doing, yes, it will last. We're not just building alliances. We're building a future." Their conversation was interrupted by a communication from the Odyssey. The ship was ready to depart for a new exploratory mission, this time under a banner of peace and shared curiosity. Jack and Glira were invited to lead this mission, to explore unknown regions of space as representatives of a united front. As they prepared for departure, a ceremony was held in their honor. Both Circanians and humans gathered to celebrate the achievements of their leaders. Speeches were made, recounting the bravery and vision of Jack and Glira, and as they stood before the crowd, it was clear they were no longer just a human and a Circanian. They were symbols of hope and unity. The final scene of the chapter shows Jack and Glira aboard the Odyssey, looking out into the vastness of space. Their hands are intertwined, their spirits buoyed by the support and love of their people. Jack glanced at Glira, a sense of wonder in his eyes. "Ready to explore the unknown?" Glira nodded, her gaze fixed on the stars. "Always." As the ship powered up and set a course for the stars, the chapter and their story closed on a note of boundless possibility. Their journey had changed them and their worlds forever, and now they faced the future together as partners, explorers, and pioneers on a cosmic scale. Their legacy, marked by a trail of stars and the promise of new horizons, was just beginning,